Good evening, everyone, tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Just give us a few minutes. We're going to get everybody else in our panel and adjusted here. I think now that we do Zoom and online, there seems to always be technical things that we are working out. So if you'll just give us a few minutes, we'll get others joined online with us. This is the funding panel and opportunities for businesses. I think tonight we're going to really concentrate on creative businesses and startup. I mean, but a lot of the resources that are going to join us tonight have resources for at every level of businesses, and I think each one of them will give us a kind of a hint of what they can and can't do and kind of what their specialty is. So just give us a few minutes as we let people in. Welcome, Anne-Marie. I'm going to give each of you a minute to, when we get everybody online, to introduce themselves, yourselves and your organization, and what you do at the organization that you represent tonight. I don't know, Beth, if you want to start us off with introducing yourself and the organization and what you do there.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Beth Colosimo. I'm the executive director at Salt Lake Community College for The Mill. And The Mill is an entrepreneurship center that houses all sorts of resources, including the Small Business Development Center, the incubator and co-working space, as well as Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. And I'll go into some of our specific programs, but that's just a quick introduction, and we'll get deeper after everyone's introduced.
Okay. So Anne-Marie, I apologize. If you want to introduce yourself and the organization you're with.
Yes, I'd love to. My name is Anne-Marie Wallace. I'm the state director of the Women's Business Center of Utah. This entrepreneurial center that I help run is a statewide organization that helps women. Well, we really help any type of entrepreneur, but we customize our services for women, and we offer counseling, so one-on-one mentorship, as well as training. Right now, everything is online or virtual, of course, during the pandemic. We've been around since 1997, helping women start and grow businesses through our services. We also offer and help with Kiva loans, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we have an office in Salt Lake City that serves the upper 15 counties in the state, and a new office a year and a half ago that we opened in Cedar City to service those women business owners in southern and eastern Utah. So we help women entrepreneurs every day live their dreams, build their confidence, and help them to experience success and create their own opportunities. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I see that you're on. If you'd like to introduce yourself, the organization that you work with, and your position there.
I'm Natalie Peterson. I am the Assistant Director with Utah Division of Arts and Museums. I can see my video quality is very bad, but I'll try to talk clearly. I have been there for about 3 years now, and we assist artists and cultural organizations throughout the state with training and funding and basically just strengthening the cultural communities and museums throughout the state of Utah.
Idea was to give our women entrepreneurs some tools and some ideas and how they can move their business forward. And then things changed with the pandemic, and we could only do 10 people, so we decided to stream it tonight. And so now it is open for the world to get the tools and learning that we're going to offer tonight. Let's start off with just a conversation about entrepreneurship and what your organization would you say is your forerunning resource for a creative nonprofit, that type of entrepreneur, hobby to entrepreneur type business person. And anybody can jump in.
I'll go first, if that's okay. So our, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, when you talk about women entrepreneurs, if there's something to do with women's entrepreneurship and support, we always are either involved or we want to be. Our services are customized just for women, even though we serve anyone. And we also have, you know, the services and also training to help people and women understand what it takes to start a business before they just jump in, as well as help them to understand how to register and license a business appropriately. We are launching some new trainings on that help people jumpstart a business, specifically a food business or an Etsy business that kind of fits in with what you're talking about. So that's a little bit about what we do that could help those type of.
What would you say is your leading or your perfect client?
Is it still me?
Oh no, I was asking Beth.
Anybody? Oh, perfect.
Yeah, what is her perfect client?
Well, I would say entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. So it is definitely not a one size fits all, but I think for me, it's someone who actually has the passion and the dedication and the drive to really take something on that they believe in. I mean, entrepreneurship is hard. There is no easy path to entrepreneurship, but what we've found, especially with women who want to convert maybe, you know, a hobby, as you say, into a viable business, all they need is some tools and some support and primarily some confidence that we try to wrap around them with the individuals that will support them from a mentorship standpoint, from an education standpoint, to Anne Marie's point about, you know, where's the launch point? What are the questions that I need to be asking to see if I have a viable business? I have a checklist of things that you kind of need to ask yourself. Questions like, is there really a market for my product? You could have the greatest candy or cupcakes or daycare or lawn care services, but you have to be able to identify the market and make sure that there are customers. And how do I reach those customers? So there's some really simple tools to take you through what's usually seen as very daunting when you're starting out. But if you can really just take it a piece at a time, we like to say, just, you know, eat the elephant a bite at a time. And then once you get that confidence built around, like, oh, okay, I can do this. And we've actually trained a number of ethnic women. We had some Polynesian women in our everyday entrepreneur class. And that class is specifically designed to take mom and pop entrepreneurs who aren't looking to launch, you know, the next spaceship or the next app. They just want to start some sort of a product or service business. And we take them from concept to launch in 90 days. And we really give them those hardcore tools to say, what do I need most to really become viable and start cash flowing in a very short amount of time? She keeps muting herself.
Susie, we can't hear you.
Oh, is that better? Can you hear
Yeah,
me
that's
now?
much better. You bet.
Maybe I need to talk louder. And so Natalie, her kind of space is a little bit more narrower. And so what would you say, the same question for you as well?
Yeah, so building on what Beth was just talking about and what Anne said before, it's been interesting as I've been thinking about this today and what we have to offer, you know, women, artists, performers, our entrepreneurs in different areas, is before I even get to some of the resources, I just want to emphasize that what they mentioned, meaning there's great power in connecting with other people, and rather than trying to reinvent the wheel by yourself and struggling to try to keep things going by yourself, I see a lot more success with individuals when they partner with other organizations or with other people to leverage the resources, you know, because somebody else has been down the road before. They know how to connect you to organizations or grants or great business mentors like Beth and Anne were talking about. So my recommendation would be, don't think that you're here on your own. There's a lot of really great resources. I mean, like Susie's is one. She was teaching me more about the kind of services that they offer. And as I was looking through the different resources for grants and such, not only with our organization, but with, for instance, Salt Lake City Arts Council, Utah Humanities, and a bunch of the artist collectives that are around the city and the state, there is more power in combining with other people and with other groups rather than going at it alone. So that's just my overarching advice that I would say to everybody. And then we at our organization, we offer a variety of training opportunities and grants for organizations and for individuals both. And as I was putting together the resource page for this, I thought, oh, how am I going to even explain all the different things that are out there? So I'm just going to highlight a couple, and then I would encourage people to go to our website and our Facebook page and subscribe to the newsletter to find out more information. But one just opened today, actually, that I'll share it's an individual artist grant, and it is specifically COVID relief. But if you go to our website for Utah Division of Arts and Museums, you'll be able to find that. And it offers small grants for for individual artists who have experienced hardship with COVID. And then we have our additional ongoing grants and such as like the folk arts cultural preservation grants, apprenticeship grants. There's many things. And also we have different video conference calls, things like that, or artists can connect with other artists and gain resources and help through those means also, as well as just direct grants through us. And again, I'd say go to our website and look at a lot of those things. And I don't know if you'll have anything, Susie, that will have links afterwards that we can send to people for resources, because it's really kind of too many things to outline verbally through this setting right now.
Definitely will. We definitely will. And I see my friend from UTA, Andrew Gray, if he jumped on, if you could introduce yourself. And I asked Andrew to come because this is a very broad discussion, and I think what Andrew and many corporations offer for entrepreneurs, they may not realize what a opportunity that companies offer. And so I've asked Andrew to come and introduce himself. And we started out, Andrew, with introducing yourself, what you do in the organization that you work for.
Yeah, thanks, Susie. My name is Andrew Gray, and I am the Civil Rights Compliance Officer with UTA. And the things that I specialize in is making sure that we have an equitable transit system, and also in engaging with the community and small businesses, especially disadvantaged businesses within the community. And so what that means is that businesses that are owned at least 51% by a minority or woman or a white male that is disadvantaged in another way, and then seek to engage them within our federal procurements and help them to figure out the complicated environment that getting involved with federal procurements is. And so part of that is a lot of our construction projects and just all of what goes into having an organization as big as UTA is. And UTA, of course, is Utah Transit Authority.
And I think the conversation here, like I think Beth and Natalie and Anne-Marie kind of service organizations and people that could use the opportunities that corporations and like Andrew offer. And just a question for you, Andrew, is there a place in the work that you do for artists, for hobby to entrepreneur, to be able to take advantage of the minority business vendor programs that people have?
Sorry, my son just walked in, of course. Sorry, buddy, I can't talk.
No problem, no problem.
Go ask your mom, buddy. Is that okay?
I've got the same thing going on over here too.
Yeah, don't worry. I just appreciate you guys doing this on a Friday evening. I will take you guys
Yeah, go watch TV.
There is no worries.
We've all experienced this over the last few months more times than we can count.
I have a 1-year-old that likes to walk in, just come in my office while I'm working. I'll often in the middle of a meeting put a 1-year-old in my lap, and
no worries.
It's fun for them, embarrassing for me. So. And sorry, I got distracted. You asked me a question.
So my question was, so Beth and Natalie and Anne-Marie, in some level, the people they work with, I'm asking, participate in your program? Is what you offer good for entrepreneurs and hobby to entrepreneurs?
So we do occasionally have some artistic designs on additions to rail lines and things like that. I know a local artist that he had received the contract to do that. Those are a bit few and far between, but I do know that there are occasionally items where we'll work with PR firms and things like that. So if there were opportunities like that, then I would definitely keep in mind this group. But for the most part, they are a bit far and few between. But a lot of the opportunities that we have are things like construction and consulting services, things like that.
Somebody was a startup, hobby to entrepreneur in those areas, which again, that's who Beth and Anne-Marie would be working with. Would then UTBA and other corporations be a place for them to access an opportunity with you?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So what we have is the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and we have a uniform application. I'm not sure how familiar you are with it, so I'll give the elevator speech of what it is, but it's if you're owned by a woman or minority, then you can become certified. And then at that point, every Department of Transportation recipient, so that would be UDOT, the airport, UTA, the Vernal Airport, every other DOT recipient draws from the same list. And so if there's any work that could be performed by you or one of the people that you work with, then instead of you having to go and find that work, the advantage is you're on a list and people are actively seeking to engage with people from that list. So you would be getting calls instead of you making calls. And so I think that's the main advantage. It just has to be within a field that makes it worthwhile to go through the application process.
Success story. What success story would you like to share tonight that you would say represents the work that your organization provides?
So
Beth, go ahead.
I was just going to say that there are some times where we'll have a small business that comes on and then they settle into a niche and then they get engaged on this kind of work. And then next thing you know, you're seeing them working on most of our projects because they've built a reputation. They work well with the people that we are contracting with, or they're able to contract directly with us. And it just becomes a thing that is built on. And so now I know of at least one barricade company that's worked with UTA and UDOT, and I see their barricades, their cones on the freeways and every project all over the state and into Idaho. And, you know, it just matters. I mean, it's just that they've performed well and consistently, and they're the go-to person now because they work so efficiently and well.
Have a success story?
Sure, I have a great success story. If I think you said Beth. I'm not hearing you very well.
Yes.
So we, in our everyday entrepreneur class, we taught it at Salt Lake Community College on the Redwood campus about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. And we had 3 different Polynesian women enroll in that particular course. I believe they were cousins. And so, you know, they had that comfort of coming to class together and relying on one another. But I remember Kessa, her husband was an expert in finished concrete. And he'd been doing finished concrete jobs for friends, for relatives, for neighbors, for, you know, referrals here and there, but they had never formalized this business. And so they didn't have a billing system. They didn't have an invoicing system. They didn't have a collection. They didn't have a price sheet. They weren't marketing. It was just sort of like here, there, and everywhere. And Kessa expressed the frustration of her husband doing all of this hard work and not getting paid for what it was worth, not getting paid at all, And she just said, I'm done. I want to learn how to formalize this business and I want to run it. He can do the work, but I'm going to be, you know, running the back office, if you will. And so she went through our program, our 12-week Entrepreneur to Launch program. And every single week you just saw her become more confident. She gained more knowledge. She understood how to formalize this business that they really had a going concern, but she just didn't have the confidence to say, I'm a female CEO. I run Honeystone Concrete as a female business owner. And watching that transformation of it being a hobby or a weekend type of thing, for them to actually have, you know, real revenue and supporting their family and their children on a consistent basis. I mean, to me, that's a huge win. And I think that's what this is all about when we're trying to convert hobbyists to true viable business owners and giving them the tools, the resources, the support, and frankly, that confidence. So that's what makes my job so fun.
It is, and Kessa actually is part of our business alliance, and her cousins, and those young ladies work very hard. They trim trees. Her cousins go out and trim trees and do things that a lot of men would not do. They're just hard workers out there. Anne-Marie, you got a success story for us?
Yes, we just launched our cohort program that Beth knows quite a bit about. It's called Next Step, and I feel like it's one of the best things that we may have ever done in our center. And it really takes in the gap in helping business owners who have already started, but they're either spinning their wheels, they're not organized, they aren't as profitable as they think they could be. And we help businesses over 9 weeks through a pretty intensive program to help them organize their operations and finances. And one of those participants is Jenna White, who owns Empire Waxing. And it was really great to see her go through the program and you know, benefit from learning how to read numbers and doing a cash flow projection. It was just really fun to have her in the program. She graduated as part of the first cohort, and she felt like that her favorite part of it was the cash flow projections, and she wanted to get into the nitty gritty. Hearing her share her action plan at the very end was really inspiring as well, because by the time you get done with the program, you have a better idea of what you need to do next to be even more organized. She's just a really great person and a really great business owner that I really enjoyed having in our program. And of course, we want them to move on and start to grow their business, because our program helps them to organize themselves. And we hope that she ends up in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program.
And Natalie, I know that you are very far removed from probably the actual artists that work with, but I'm sure you hear of some success stories of your grantees in the state. If you want to share one with us.
Yeah, we have a really wide range of ways that we help people. I would say that, you know, I was thinking of different success stories. The most recent ones would be in relation to the COVID funding that we've been able to support so many artists with. We worked really hard with our leadership team worked really hard with developing relationship with the legislature throughout the year to get things in place so that we were able to get quite a bit of support through the Federal CARES Act funding that we were able to funnel down to a variety of different artists. I think we funded, trying to remember off the top of my head how many, so I don't have a specific story about one individual, but I know we've helped hundreds and hundreds of artists and organizations with this funding in really significant ways to help them keep their doors open. From our end, a lot of the hardest hit industries within the cultural sector have been in the performance section. Some galleries are able to still be open depending on the guidelines and things, but it's those organizations that have the performers, the ones that are really struggling, because, I mean, not that the others aren't also, but they aren't able to fill a auditorium with safe social distancing and still make enough revenue to stay afloat. And so I would say our biggest success as of late is just all the back end of figuring out how to get this funding to individuals, like I talked to you about, like through our individual artist grants, through the Create in Utah grants, which we partnered with Governor's Office of Economic Development they had like the shop in Utah where they would give funding to different organizations and individuals for their work that they're doing, different entrepreneurs that create goods and services. And then the work that we've been able to do to just get that funding out the door to so many people to help them temporarily and also hopefully help them keep afloat longer than temporarily. We can't hear you, Susie.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I need to talk louder. I apologize. My next question is, when is someone ready to apply? At what point are they ready to come to you and are you the organization? Some organizations aren't the right fit for things, but just curious, is there probably people that are listening right now that have a idea or maybe selling food out of their home or doing something? At what point would you say they need to come and see you or come to your program?
So I can take that. We'll take just about anyone that really has some sort of an idea. It's not that helpful if someone just says, well, I want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't have any idea what they want to do or what they think they're good at. So if someone, to your point, is a hobbyist, they make a specific craft or a specific product, whether it's candy or baked goods, or they have a service, to your point earlier about tree trimming. Well, if you can potentially put together a viable landscaping business or specific tree trimming business, those are viable services that we can help you formulate into a business. So really just having some sort of an idea that you want to take and explore how to turn that into a business, that's where you start.
And I would echo that also, Susie, on our end is when I look at the different grants, the training opportunities that we offer to people, they'll be able to go a lot farther if they have a specific goal or specific thing they're wanting to work on. Like for instance, in our folk arts grants, there's the folk arts cultural preservation grant, and that can help individuals, organizations, or cultural communities up to $1,500. And then the folk arts apprenticeships, the same, is where an individual works with a master folk artist and they gain that experience and to hone their skill or refine their expertise. And then once they have that, then they can move forward to other things. But yeah, having an idea of what they're wanting to accomplish, and then talking to our staff, talking to our grants coordinator or folk arts team and saying, hey, I have this idea and I'm interested in this. And we can either help them with something, or we can very often direct them to other resources, like other groups that maybe an artist collective that they could connect with and get other ideas. Maybe they could collaborate with some other artists on a project and apply for some funding that would be open to a group or open to an organization of people rather than just an individual. But we just have a lot of resources that we can direct them to if they have an idea or desire to accomplish something. We'd love to have our staff talk with them and find out about the kind of trainings, networks, support systems that are there to help them move forward.
Bree, do you want to?
Sorry, were you asking me something? I couldn't hear you for a moment.
Yeah, just the same question for them is when is somebody ready to come get services from the Women's Business Center? At what point should they be at?
It's very much like Beth had said, we help women in any phase of business, starting with just, I have an idea. And of course, you need to have an idea and determine if it's a viable one, and we can help with that. And we help women all the way up to where they're $1 million company and they just need help tweaking one little part of their business. So some of our specialties include government contracting. So what Andrew was talking about, we can help people, through the process of applying for their DBE or to look for opportunities in other government areas, but in really any phase in their business, as long as they're prepared to do what it takes. And if we don't know something, we're going to say, I don't know, let's find out, or let's find someone who has a specialty in that we can refer them to, so they get the very most and the best assistance and resources available to them, and we handhold them through the process.
Thank you. And how about you, Andrew? At what point, what kind of business do you need them to be able to participate in your opportunities?
So there's not really a size requirement. So you can be brand new. The application asks for 3 years worth of taxes, but if you don't have them, you don't have them. And it's not a requirement for submission. So you can be at any phase in the development of your company. The main thing I would emphasize is that you be ready to be able to take on a contract. I think that's the real thing that would tell whether or not you're ready. If you have a concrete company and you're ready to pour concrete pads for a bus stop, then go ahead, apply, and we'll help you grow the business. And so there's not really any minimum. And if you're questioning whether or not you'd be a good fit, I just encourage you to reach out. I try to make myself a resource to the community. I'm happy to help wherever I can. So just reach out and I'll talk through your business and see how best you can fit.
Talking about that, the technical assistance is a huge part of this, right? Is that working with overlooked communities and working with ethnic communities, is that are your organizations able to give the technical assistance that some are going to need in language possibly? And what I see happening is helping people navigate systems that they don't understand, right? And some organizations are not set. They may be offering services, but they really don't have that technical assistance piece. And it's okay if you don't, but I think it helps us when we know when we're referring somebody to an organization that we need to have somebody to help them through that if the organization we're referring them to doesn't already have it. And what would you say your organization provides, and are you good at that? Language and, sometimes you'll see the forms are only in English. And sometimes we don't think about some of those things. And so just curious of anybody that wants to take this of how good of technical assistance do you offer for people that come from very diverse backgrounds? Anybody want to take that one?
I can take that for just a couple of minutes. For our services, we are a technical service provider. So that's what our job is. And one thing I'll tell you, we're not a networking organization. So, there's, NAWBO, National Association of Women Business Owners, and others, Utah Women's Networking, they do networking very well, but we don't do that. We definitely share with our women business owners that networking is very, very important. It's an important part, but that's not what we offer. We are a technical service provider. So we understand the processes that you need to take, especially, the examples I already gave about government contracting. We know where the registrations are, what information you do need. So when Andrew was talking about that, I'm like, I have like 5 tips for people, just off the top of my head about, in certain circumstances, what you need to do to prepare yourself and to be ready. But also other areas where, like the technical things about setting up a business, we literally sit with people and help them do that. So it's not just sharing with them where they should go, but we actually sit down and walk through it with them. And it could be, their registration or their business license, or, whether it's preparing, a system or helping them set up their QuickBooks. That's something that we do. We're partially funded by the SBA. So these are federal tax dollars paid by all citizens of the United States and in the state of Utah. That's why we don't charge for our services right now at all. So that's one thing that we are as a technical service provider.
To put you on the spot, and I'm going to ask each one of you this question. How many people, diverse people, do you have on your staff, and how many in languages? I mean, how are you able to provide the technical assistance? Anne-Marie, you want to take that since you just talked?
Absolutely. The really cool thing, I was telling Susie this earlier by emails, we are offering somebody a new position for our Kiva program that we are offering today, and she speaks 3 languages. So this will be the first time we have, well, that's not true. We've had people on our staff who speak 3 and 4 languages, but we have a total of 5 languages that are spoken, including this new person, assuming that she'll accept this position. So we do, most of our staff are English speaking, but we do have 2 out of 7 who speak other languages. Right now we're working on our diversity as far as our other team members and also our board of directors. So, but we do serve diverse women throughout the state of Utah. So I think it's about 25% of our clients are diverse, and many of them speak Spanish. We have a new group, and I feel like it's probably our partnership with you, that are Pacific Islander. And of course, we work very closely with the ethnic chambers to make sure we're providing services to the women that they serve as well.
Really kind of uncomfortable question, but I hope you don't feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but I think it's something necessary, yeah, to have this conversation, and I hope that it's in friendly terms, by all means. Beth, we'll let you, what would you say about your organization?
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously, the Salt Lake Community College as a whole is the most diverse college in the state of Utah. I believe we're up to something like 35 to 40% of our student population are non-white, somewhat ethnic, various ethnic backgrounds. And so we certainly have a mix of ethnic and cultural diversity resources. If I had to go to the college for a specific language translator, I could probably find them. On my own staff, we have, we have the Spanish speakers in our SBDC, and I believe we have someone on our staff who speaks French and someone who speaks Japanese. We just hired a woman from Indonesia. I've never been asked to translate in Indonesian, but we have that resource now. So but yeah, I mean, it's obviously a huge initiative for the community college. And in fact, we are encouraged every job opening that we have to make sure that the population of candidates we're looking at is diverse. And it certainly, is something we desire and want to emulate. Again, the population of our students being 30 to 40% minorities or ethnic based, we want that to be reflected in the staff that's serving them. So it's a high, high priority at the college.
Are you wanting me to go, Susie? I couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, please.
Okay, I thought I looked at Mouse Natalie, so I'm Natalie Mouse. So we have some diversity amongst our staff. We have, as far as capability for providing translation, I'd say it's pretty minimal at this point. It's something that we're looking at accessibility from all angles. We're working like with our cultural sector calls I told you about. We worked on like signing, so we have that. But as far as translation into different languages, some of the cultural calls and things that we've offered have had Spanish speakers that were able to offer that if needed, but it's an area that we need to strengthen and work on quite a bit as far as translation services. That it's not something that we offer in a robust manner right now. If somebody though was interested in talking to us about different things, we have funding opportunities, trainings, things like that. We have very responsive and caring staff that helps people, and we could try to find something to accommodate them. I don't know what that would be at this point, but we'd be very willing to look into it to see what we could do to help.
Technical assistance, can't hear me. How about now? Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
I have to get closer. Sorry. So Andrew, what would you say about technical assistance for people that are wanting to participate in your program? And just how many people on your staff you have of diverse background?
So the direct staff in civil rights, we have a Spanish speaker, but because UTA is a federal recipient, I manage our limited English proficiency plan. And so I maintain a list of all of the employees within UTA that speak different languages, and us being a service provider with 25 to 2,600 employees, it's a pretty extensive list of people that we have on staff that speak languages and the times that they're available to translate anything. We also have an agreement with the Asian Association and the Refugee Center So if there are any languages that we don't have on staff, then we can arrange for interpretation, and then a hotline that we can call and at any time have somebody on the phone that speaks pretty much any language that's out there. And so as a transit authority, we get a very diverse group of people that ride our system. And so that's something that we think about often and have formulated a pretty extensive plan to address people's needs on.
Susie, I had a question for you, and maybe you could assist with what do you see as the biggest barriers, the constituents that you serve, what is the reason that they might resist going into an entrepreneurship center, not launching their hobby to entrepreneur, to a viable business? What are the barriers that maybe we're not seeing? Are there some blind spots, perhaps, of service providers that are not providing the access that your population is looking for?
I always feel like can you hear me? When it's somebody from our community, there are unspoken things that they don't have to say to me. For instance, if somebody says, we have a funeral in our family, then I already know for 1 week they're not going to be able to participate. And I understand the money that they have to provide for their families. And that's sometimes a little embarrassing, or people are hesitant to share these things that are cultural norms to someone outside, with the fear that someone's going to judge them, with the fear that somebody's going to say, that is really dumb. That's really irresponsible. Why do you use your money like that? You're trying to grow a business. No wonder your credit is bad, right? And I think that there's a fear of what our cultural norms are, and they don't want to be judged.
Is that
so it's
because
easier.
they've experienced?
I'm sorry?
Is that because that's what they've actually experienced, or is that more of a perception?
What we've experienced. And I'm going to just give you, I'm going to put Andrew on the spot here, because my husband worked for UTA. He earned Million Mile Driver many years, Employee of the Year many years, and his best friend died, and he was out of funeral days, and it didn't fit the mom, dad, whatever the policy was. Mm-hmm. And my husband decided to quit his job after 25 years because that's how important that person was in his life. And UTA said, well, he doesn't fit, you can't have the days off. And my husband said, oh, well, I'll go find another job. I'm not going to find another friend, right? So our value systems are very different. And so I've had employers say to me, your people are so irresponsible. They'll just quit a job over this or that. And so it's hard sometimes when your belief systems are different, when your value systems are different. And we just have to learn to allow people to believe differently and have different experiences. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen, and why people would rather come to work with us and have us help them and figure it out, because they don't have to. I understand you may live in a home where there's 3 generations, right? And those types of things that are not normal in American culture are very hard to share with others, with the fear that somebody's going to look down at them. Or and my next question was going to be about credit, because that's something that people don't want to start a business, right? And again, why people don't want to come into agencies like the Women's Business Center, like yours, Beth, is because they have bad credit. But they can come and tell me that, right? Mm-hmm. Because they know that I'm not going to judge them for having bad credit. Because in America, it seems like that credit score says whether you're a good person or not, even though we honestly know that credit score, just like I always say, the number on the scale doesn't say whether you're pretty or not, right? It's the same kind of theory. And so I'd like us to think about, did I answer your question, Beth? Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to me, Susie, I think it's more of just having that level of understanding, you know, and having that open dialogue and that comfort level to explain cultural circumstances, as opposed to your example of, well, they just quit. Why did they quit? You know, to have that underlying understanding, I think opens up such a bigger, broader conversation about the perspective that person's coming from.
So let's talk about credit. When somebody comes to you, and this may not be applicable to a couple of you, but when somebody comes to you and they have this great idea, but they have bad credit, what can we do about that?
Well, so first of all, bad credit is not, it is across all ethnic groups. It's across all people that we serve. Trust me, college students that want to start small businesses don't even have credit established. They may not even have a credit card. I mean, we have a 19-year-old that's enrolling in our class who makes skateboards. He doesn't even have a bank account. So, you know, credit is not something that is unique to the constituents, the people that we serve. It obviously is important when you get to the place where you're even bankable. And I would imagine that Anne-Marie is going to have the same conversation, in that we are trying to get you to a place where you can go and become bankable. Most small businesses are not bankable. And so, you know, there is no pot of gold, there is no magic, you know, fund that is going to launch your business and hand you $25,000 to get started. That's just not reality. And if that's the barrier to entry, then we need to step back and say, okay, what is it that you need to actually get launched? Let's not use money as the obstacle at the early stage of a company, because as you know, you can go start a business on the internet for $25. So we really try to educate early stage entrepreneurs to say, you know, put the money thing aside. Let's work on the concept. Let's work on the idea. Because if your idea is so good and so marketable, money is not going to be your problem. You know, sales are going to overcome a lot of those ills and get you to where you could potentially go to an organization to get a loan. But there's a lot of organizations for early stage companies like Kiva that I know Anne-Marie will talk about that can give you some really low interest or no interest small loans up to $10,000, $20,000. The women's micro enterprise loan funds, those are all alternative options to having a viability for a bank loan. Most small businesses are not, frankly, going to qualify for a bank loan. They just don't have the collateral. And so we know that's not the avenue to send them, but it should not be a barrier to trying to launch a small business, because hopefully that's what gets you to a better credit score.
Share Business Alliance that we do offer a $5,000 micro lending loan, and with really no credit check. And so we're really excited. And you know, Beth and Anne-Marie, you guys are more than welcome to refer people to us. We partner with Celtic Bank on that, and been an amazing partner with us. But Anne-Marie, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about credit and Kiva Loan, because we are one of your partners as well for Kiva Loans.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about Kiva. One thing that we all know, or we should know, is that access to capital for women is the #1 challenge for women in business across the board, and especially if you are a woman who is, you know, from an underrepresented community, and especially in a male-dominated field. So, I mean, if you're in one of those, it's really difficult. And part of it is that women sometimes don't dare to go after as much money as a man would, but they are turned down more often than a man is. a lot of people do not want to pay interest on a loan, you know, to start a business. And like Beth said, I remember the first time I heard a woman say, well, I got a bank loan. And I said, excuse me, you got a bank loan? It just doesn't happen for new businesses because of the risk that's involved in it. But and most women and a lot of people are starting businesses with their own money or family money or friends. And that's a good way to do it, because you put your own money and your blood, sweat, and tears in. And then later on, when you've built it up, a bank can recognize that you have put that in, and it does matter to them. But it is difficult at the beginning. Women's Business Center of Utah realizes that this access to capital, access to funding is a really big issue. And we made an intentional decision to become a Kiva hub. So if anybody has heard of Kiva, I'd heard of Kiva. I didn't know that name, but I knew about microlending in third world countries, where you give a woman, and it's usually specifically a woman that's better at this. You give a woman a little bit of money and she can create a business that pulls her family out of poverty. It's known worldwide that works, because women are scrappy and they are innovative, and especially if they need to take care of their families. They're going to work hard to do that. And so Kiva is a nonprofit organization that gives micro loans. So they're not donations, but loan, using a crowdfunding platform. So we're not the lender, we don't do underwriting, but we promote Kiva loans that are at 0% interest, no fees. So our organization pays a management fee that actually takes care of all the underwriting, but it at no expense, extra expense to a lender, excuse me, to the borrower. And we know that opportunity is not the same for everybody. And good ideas can come around to a lot of people, to everybody, but opportunity just doesn't come knocking as often as ideas. And so Kiva is meant to help those who have not been able to get traditional lending, and that's women and minorities. So, if you're okay with this, I'd like to share a screenshot, if that's okay, so everyone can see what Kiva is kind of about, if that's okay, if I'm able to. Because the crowdfunding platform, if you're looking at this right here, is that, and these are up to $15,000. And it's been really helpful during the pandemic, because they're not looking at credit at all for Kiva US. They're looking at potential, and if it's a fit for your business and the use of the funds that you want to have. So if you go through the underwriting process and they think you're a fit for Kiva, like you could, you know, use this system to, you know, fund a loan up to $15,000, then the first part of it is going to your own followers, and they help you fund 20% of the loan. If you need $5,000, 20% of the loan is very small. Once it gets past that point, then you're into public funding like these ladies. So, and it's posted on this site where thousands of funders, including big businesses, want to help small businesses grow, and they are helping. Even right here, you can see you can lend $25 of that $15,000 that she is looking for. So this lady named Wanda in California. I hope you're seeing what I'm showing to you. Good. So even our board of directors like to help fund our clients' loans. So they are in small chunks, sometimes bigger chunks, but it all adds up to be the loan that they would like to have. Once it's fulfilled, then they get the loan. That's, do you hear my son saying pizza? Anyway, so if it's funded, then the loan is dispersed and they pay it back. And if you're a lender, like if you lent $25, you're going to get that paid back, and then you can lend it to another owner. So I think it's an excellent program. We're the Kiva Hub here in Utah, just making sure that people know about these 0% interest, no fee loans. And I know that, like you were mentioning, Susie, about Celtic Bank and others that have options, low interest, and ours is 0% interest, but making sure that opportunity is available more readily to those who are just denied it in most instances. I hope that was a good enough overview. Do you have questions about Kiva or about other things? One thing I'll mention is we never ask our clients about their credit score when they meet with us ever. It's not even, doesn't even cross our minds. But I think Beth had mentioned that if they want to apply for a bank loan, that's going to come up. And for micro lending, like the Utah Micro Loan Fund, they do look at credit score, but they're looking at your character. And so you can explain to them what happened. You could tell them that, you know, a family member died, and a family member could be any, like you were saying, and not maybe not just a blood relative, but somebody that was close to you. And those things matter to the credit committee. So the credit committee decides subjectively on those loans. And of course, Kiva is based on little chunks of money that add up to be the full amount of money that you're looking for.
Natalie, so does credit matter when you're getting a grant?
It's different for operating in a bit of a different realm than Beth and Ann, and even to a degree Andrew. So credit scores, no, absolutely, that's not anything that's even, I haven't talked about that once in the whole time I've been in my job with any staff or anything, because it's not relevant to what we do whatsoever. But I was just trying to think of something that would be akin to that, would be that for all of our grants and funding that goes out, though, we do have grant panels and reviewers who consider many, many different factors. There's certain criteria that has to be met, but there's also different factors that are a little more flexible and malleable. So I would say that people's, their ideas, their projects, what they're passionate about, what they have the capacity to do, all of those things are very heavily weighted and considered. And our grant staff, for instance, our grant manager and coordinator, they always encourage individuals and individuals from different groups to give them a call and talk to them about their ideas and what they're wanting to do and what they're hoping to accomplish. And our staff is very supportive and helpful in guiding them, maybe in helping them figure out how to refine their ideas, like Beth and Ann and Andrew have talked about in their different things they discussed, to basically just help them figure out a way to make it fit and make it, if possible, work within the structures that we have, so that we can help support people in whatever ways they're wanting to grow, whatever they're doing.
I would say that you may not have a credit score, but you do have to track the the grant and give an accounting at some point of the grant money. So it's like not on the front end, but maybe on the back end, and just a little bit different with the grant money that you disperse. So Andrew, UTA, do you have to have good credit to get a contract with you?
You know, it's mostly performance-based and history-based, and so it's a competitive bidding process, and experience may be a piece of it, but it's really just performance-based. And one thing that I will mention, though, is that there is an upcoming bonding education program that's going to be available. And I can send you that information, and then you can disseminate once we have a flyer for it. And that'll go over the potential for, it's an educational program that you can learn about bonding and a lot of other parts of having a small business and growing it. So I'll send that to you once I have more information.
Great. If each of you could throw in the chat how to contact you. I honestly thought an hour was gonna be like pulling teeth to have a conversation, but you guys have made this amazing tonight and given lots of great hints and information in a very diverse conversation tonight from all four of you. I think it did work out, because somebody said, wow, you're going from left to right is very broad. And I thank you so much for making it very easy conversation tonight. And I know without a doubt that we've given some information that I know that people will appreciate and hopefully use. So before we end, I just wanted to go around and just have you again tell us, what would you say your #1 motivation for what you do, and in making sure that people understand where to get this resource and what your hope is. And we'll start with Andrew, because he's the only male on tonight. You're on mute.
What I said was so profound too, gosh. So I was just saying that one of the things that has really driven me through my life is seeing other people not have the fair shake that they're supposed to be able to get. And so I've worked in the community with homelessness and with veterans and different things. And I've loved the transition into the job that I have now, because the entire focus of what I do is creating a level playing field for people that have historically been disadvantaged, and then giving them more of an opportunity than they would have had otherwise to be able to get in with these projects that historically would have just not been available or possible for them to be a part of. So that's a large part of what motivates me and drives me to continue to work within the community.
Marie, what motivates you?
Oh my goodness, this is my dream job. I love working with women entrepreneurs every single day. And I think, you know, what I shared with you earlier was our mission statement, and I didn't even phrase it that way, but the first thing on our mission statement is we help women build confidence. And the reason, and we realize that, but not, sometimes we don't realize it when it's us being the client, you know, when we're the ones that have to start a business or want to start a business and don't know where to start. But we did ask our clients what value they got from us. What did we actually help you with? And almost all of them said, well, first of all, you helped me feel like I could do this. And that's what drives me, is that we can help women learn how to do something they don't know how to do, or they're too scared to do, or they have the idea, but they need to know how to execute it in a business format. That's what drives me. For our clients, you know, it doesn't matter what phase you're in business, even if it's just an idea. It's better to start with a resource than not. We have lots of clients who said, man, I've been in business for 7 years and I wish I'd known about you in the very beginning. So when I have clients who are coming here in the very beginning, that's where I just love it, because they're on such a better footing for the future for their business. And we help women of all different kinds of backgrounds and also communities. So I'm just glad to be here too. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Anne-Marie. Natalie, what motivates you?
Well, what motivates me in the work that I do is how we're able to connect. It basically ties into our mission, how we're able to connect individuals and communities through Utah, through arts and culture. That is what motivates me, because by doing that, we're inherently strengthening individuals and communities. We're enriching quality of life. We're strengthening the economy. We're connecting people in ways that sometimes it's a medium for connection. So I think it's that strengthening and lifting all around through the work that we're doing that really motivates me. And I love to see the excitement, the passion that people have in the work that they're doing, and how we can help build that and strengthen that through the back end work that we do through our funding and through our programming and training that we help people with.
Thank you. And Beth, you close us out tonight, and what motivates you?
Sure. Well, what I would say is, you know, entrepreneurship is the great equalizer. There's no pedigree as to what an entrepreneur has to look like. And when we have people come into our center, you know, those that are so passionate about their idea, their business, their drive, they don't let their past or their circumstances define their future and their future success. Because look, everyone has a story, everyone has a background, everyone has a past, everyone has obstacles. And watching entrepreneurs not let that destroy their hopes and dreams for the future, and then us being a part of that journey, that's absolutely what drives and motivates me. And it's a blast to see people kind of on that trajectory of, I don't know if I can do this, to, wow, I have so much business, I don't even know how to manage it. That's a blast.
Yeah. But I want to thank each of you on a Friday night to come and do this panel with me. I mean, each one of you have been an amazing partner of the Pacific Business Alliance and to PICTAR. And me personally, as a friend, like, I know that I can reach out if I have somebody to refer out, to ask a question. You know, we're a 5-year-old nonprofit organization, and we couldn't do this without each of the partners that we have. And in this space, I really, really appreciate each one of your organizations and the work that you do with us to provide that service. You know, to hear that Gessa, we referred her. It's funny that you said that it was her. I knew that they had gone to a class. I didn't even know where their class was. But to see those young ladies today, like, they were out cutting trees just a couple weeks ago and doing concrete. And I was like, wow, I'm so impressed with them. So I can't do this work. The Business Alliance can't do this work without amazing partners like each one of you that provide services and technical assistance. And to come on a Friday night, hey, I really, really appreciate you guys doing this. So thank you. And I think just working together continually to make our world a better place for all of us, because we definitely impact one another. And, you know, the four of you are people that understand that. And I would say that not everybody understands that, but I'm really, really grateful to have found 4 partners in this space that get it and want to see and help all communities thrive and to be empowered to be able to feed their families, shelter, and just have the same opportunities that everybody else has in this country. So thank you again, and have an amazing weekend. And if you get a chance to come to our holiday mart, if you think that it's gonna snow or rain or come by and see us, we will be out at Lodestone Park tomorrow from till about 2 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Susie, for the great work that your organization does also. I just want to throw all that back right back at you. The positive work that you're doing through your organization is really inspirational. So thank you.
Thank you. We're all great partners together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.